Week 4 of Pathrick Lecture 87, The Next Phase on the Path, I titled Inner Spiritual Reality Creates the Outer World. Now, I was a bit cheeky in titling this because it was a Q&A session, and the questions and answers weren't specifically geared towards this, but this is what I gleaned from it. This is what I thought was a good takeaway from this section of the lecture. Now, the guide's teachings that my inner reality creates my outside world is, I think, one of the hardest concepts to really grasp because it is so obviously not true. If I didn't want something, why does it exist? And so I'm going to explain a little bit on how this crazy theory works. First of all, when I say if I don't want it to exist, it doesn't exist, I'm actually speaking from the ego consciousness level of my being, not from my real self, my divine self. How do I know that? Because it's so limited. I don't want. And my joking answer is, who am I not to want what is? So when we are in this collective planet, in this conglomerate planet of beings, I don't have authority on how to dictate the planet. And part of that is the spiritual reality of my agreeing to come in. When I agreed to come in, I did not agree to come in like a DC Marvel superhero who could do whatever they wanted against the laws of gravity and the laws of physics, change water into whatever, lead into gold, walk through walls. That's not what I agreed to. There have been exceptions on the planet, according to the guide, but the majority of us are in the same boat. We're at the same relative level of development in that we are not granted superpowers. So when we come in, we're supposed to play nice with the rest of the people on the planet. And if I suddenly started walking through walls, that would violate their reality. So part of my agreeing to be here was an agreement to be part of the collective, a shared reality. Now, how does that square with how my inner reality creates the outer world? Once again, if you take this as a magic act, you'll misunderstand the concept. My inner reality affects others, and then their inner reality affects me. And then I make decisions based upon that. If you track my decision to turn away, to walk away, I am creating a new reality for myself by walking away from somebody's reaction. I am able to create a new reality by changing my circumstances. It's part of how my ego has control. Now, there are levels of sentient being that don't have as much control over their environment as humans do. Humans have a lot of control over their environment compared to ducks, horses, algae, and trees. By making decisions about how I want to live in the next 5 minutes, I change my reality by changing the circumstances. Think in terms of chaos theory. Chaos theory says that there's so many possible outcomes in any given moment that anytime you make a decision, you're simply opening up a whole other world of millions of other possibilities. But there's a cumulative effect to this. For instance, by continually steering myself towards a more academic, structured, literary, reason-based lifestyle, I will surround myself with people who are also interested in that. I will find employment in a place that honors that. I will meet and enjoy conversations with people who enjoy that particular lifestyle. If I want human connection and emotion, feelings of connection and a sense of belonging. I will steer myself towards professions, circumstances, activities that offer that opportunity for me. As I do that, I change inside. I either learn learn to appreciate more those feelings, or I get filled and I change and I move in a different direction. This is what is meant by my inner spiritual reality creates my outer world. It doesn't do it instantaneously, magically. It does it second by second, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, decade by decade. Sometimes the progress is slow so that you don't notice. So my invitation is this: look back at your life, depending on how old you are, segregate it into 6 months, a year, a decade, 5 years, whatever works for you. But get several categories going. And notice what your agenda was, what your interest was in one of the earlier segments of your life. And notice how that influenced the second segment or the next segment, and how that cumulative experience led you to the next segment. Now, I'm now a very old lady, and so I think in terms of decades. So I see things in terms of my first decade, second, sixth, and now I'm in my seventh or eighth, depending on how you count decade. And I see these shifts. I see how I've completely changed my reality from decade to decade. Even during a decade when I was in the same place under the same circumstances, it was not the same. I was changing and things were building inside me that later, let's say, flowered. And sometimes that's who we are. There are trees or plants that take 20, 30 years to produce fruit or flowers. Now, you can't judge them by what they are for the first 2 or 3 decades. You have to look at the overall, but until you're there, you don't see it. A human life is like that. You're not going to know the ending until you've gotten to the ending. And so halfway through, we have to do the best we can with the pieces we have. So short talk on inner spiritual reality, creating the outer world, week 4 of Pathwork Lecture 87, New Phase on the Path. And thanks for listening.